a pretty crazy story over at IMG Academy. For those who don't know, big high school, most of you probably know, but if you don't know, one of the biggest high schools down here in Florida, one of the biggest breeding grounds for sports, across the whole nation. I'm going to read this. IMG Academy, world-renowned sports boarding school in Bradenton, has agreed to pay a $1.72 million fine after federal investigators discovered the school has spent years taking tuition money from individuals linked to the Mexican drug cartel. What the hell? Insane. After doing a little bit of digging to understand the situation, right?
How did they even get caught?
So apparently there's like a system, right, where you have to track all these payments that come in, right, and make sure that they're viable money and it's coming from clean dollars and all that stuff. They didn't do that essentially, but apparently the people that are there are parents of athletes at the school, and they're not part of the cartel, but they give money to the cartel every single year.
So we know.
Right. Yeah. They're not with the cartel, right? But essentially, they give these two families give money to the cartel every single year.
That's crazy.
How that works, and so essentially, they got flagged in the system, right, as people that should have never been able to pay tuition to the school, but IMG apparently didn't know, right, quote unquote, and was taking money from these families for over the course of the last couple of years, and it was just them basically paying tuition. It's not like the cartel directly was giving them money, but these are people that have some sort of affiliation because they've given money to the cartel, and they should have been flagged a fucking minute ago, but didn't. So it is insane. The headlines were like the cartel gave them money, right? Which that would have been fucking a shit show.
Cartel's funding IMG Academy.
I mean, the fact that there's even a connection to the cartel in like high school sports, like I think that's what we want to talk about here, right? Like how much of this maybe is going on across all of sports, right?
Yeah.
Like we've heard, like I remember early on with the golf stuff, right? With the Saudis, right? And how the Saudis and all this dirty money, and people were like, how are we going to take money from the Saudis? Like clearly everybody wants to get into sports, right? So how much you think dirty money is involved in sports?
That's a great question for Wingo.
Yeah. Listen. I'm just here to play football, and that's nothing. But, hey, when you look at it, money is money, and these schools are generating so much money. And, if you got, old Jimmy at the park who's a great ball player and you want to get him to an organization like IMG, right, how do you find a way to do that?
Right.
Obviously, there's going to be cases where, some things are legal and some things are illegal. People are definitely doing it out there. IMG, obviously one of the most prestigious schools all around the country. I went to St. Thomas, so I didn't have a chance to play IMG. I always got pissed off at the rankings of them as one, knowing they can do all the recruiting and all that kind of stuff. But they list this as this headline as the, drug cartel being involved. It baffles me to even think that this isn't something going on in other places. It has to be. Right, these people show up sometimes with money. How do you afford this tuition and all these things that you have? And obviously now we know IMGs might be dealing with the cartel. But, it's crazy to know. I feel like it passed over so fast, right? It's like we heard about it, they paid the fine, and now it's done.
It. Yeah.
So I feel like there's some more questions and some things we don't know about that we're waiting to kind of pop
100%.
up. But I feel like it just came and went really, really, really fast, and no one really knows anything.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you guys seen that show, Landman, on Paramount?
I've heard about it.
Yeah, a great show. But
Great family.
Yeah, great family. But I mean, there is like that, when you talk about like money is money at the end of the day, right? And one of the things that happens in that show, it's like, long story short, basically the cartel and the oil people share the same land, right? Like, and they've basically like been able to operate without getting in each other's way, but then shit starts happening and then it exposes a bunch of shit. But like the lead cartel guy basically is funding later on in the show all the oil business, and they like, we don't care. We know that your money is dirty money, but it's like money's money at the end of the day. So you could say it's drug money, but it's really money coming from all these other things, and he's just moving his money through oil, right? Yeah. So in this instance, it's almost like maybe people are it's dirty money, but they also have legitimate businesses and they're moving their money through sports. So to Wingo's point, I do think a lot of this is happening, right? Yeah. But it's not Pablo Escobar saying, "Here, here's $10 million, IMG."
Exactly.
You know.
No, when I think about money too, it's been everywhere, right? You might reach for a dollar in your wallet, and you have no idea where that dollar came from.
Yeah.
I don't think Pablo Escobar was knocking on IMG's door to be like, "Hey, can I pay for some of your kids to go to school here?" But it's crazy to think about some of the things that we don't know about, and if and will something come out about IMG with some more details, and really what was actually happening.
I will say this. The FBI might be showing up here at any given moment because it just recorded my whole conversation on my Apple Watch about Cartel, Pablo Escobar.
Hey, they're gonna walk in.
Of course, my Apple Watch would go off on that time. Like, what the hell?